In this AI dictionary video, we're going to be learning about zero-shot and few-shot prompting. Now, in our prompting definition video, we have been able to understand that prompting is basically the act of communicating with AI models. That's basically LLMs, the large language models that we are familiar with today. But there are strategies for prompting AI models that can evoke the best response from these models. And one of those strategies, or the most popular strategies, is few-shot prompting. Few-shot prompting. But before few-shot prompting, we had zero-shot prompting. And we're going to, in this video, define both zero-shot and few-shot prompting so that you can understand what both prompting strategies are. You probably are already using some of them and you don't know. And when the best time to use both of them. So let's begin. So let us start with zero-shot prompting. So say zero-shot prompting. And I'm just going to put a line in between here. So we have, here will be for zero-shot. And here we have few-shot prompting. Now, both of these are prompting techniques. They are prompting techniques. But what are they? Now, zero-shot prompting is when you prompt your model with no guidance or example on how to carry out the task. Nothing. You just send in your task and that's all. So zero examples or guidance on how to perform the task. And that's what a lot of us have been doing, especially since these chatbots came about. That's what a lot of us have been doing. We just tell it, write me a poem about a cat. What is the capital of so-so country? Who is the president of this country? Tell me the top 5 highest mountains in the world, or summarize this document and stuff like that. So you just type in your task, just your task, and that's everything. That's all. But because LLMs are very, very powerful and generative, even when you don't provide any type of example, they will still give you a response. They will still give you a response, and a very useful response. That's why they've become so popular today. But sometimes you might want your response in a particular format, in a particular way, or even in a particular language. So if you just want the model to be creative and just do its own thing, you should follow zero-shot prompting. You can continue to do your zero-shot prompting, and once you're okay with whichever way it decides to present its answers, then you're fine with zero-shot prompting. You're fine with zero-shot prompting. But in very specialized cases and in a lot of serious real-world cases, you would often want the model to present its output in a particular way, in a particular style, in a particular tone, in a particular language, in a particular format. And that is where few-shot prompting comes into play. Few-shot prompting comes into play. Now, few-shot prompting is when you guide the LLM with with one or more examples. When you guide your LLM with one or more examples, that is what is referred to as few-shot prompting. Yeah, big word, simple meaning. Few-shot prompting is when you give the model one or more examples on how to carry out the task. Now, in what scenario can we have this? Let's say we want to get details about countries. We want to get details about countries. Or want to compare 2 countries. So let's say we tell it, compare France to Canada. Now, if we don't give it any example, or if we don't describe how we want the response to be presented, it will just go ahead and compare both countries whichever way it deems fit. And even if you continue to run the prompt several times, it's going to always describe it in a different way. It's going to always give you the response using a different style. But let's say we want a particular style for our response. So we can tell it, compare these 2 countries in terms of, let's say, population. And not just population, also compare it based on number of tourist destinations. Number of tourist destinations. We can also say standard of living. Probably you are concerned about the cost of things, so you're on budget and you want to make sure that you pick the country that is going to help you manage your money better, or you don't have to spend a lot, especially in terms of accommodation and feeding. So you tell it, compare it in terms of these 3 things. So that's one way you're describing how you want the answer to be presented. So after telling it this, you can then go ahead and say, use this example. Like the answer should be presented this way. So the first thing I want you to say population 35 million, tourist destinations 50, and the last standard of living, let's say, how do we represent standard of living? Let me call it SOL. Yeah, and that's something you can also do with the AI model. You can give it formats for even naming the some of the data it sends back to you. So let's say I want to call standard of living SOL. So standard of living, let's say, for the particular country in question, whether be it France or Canada, let's say I'll be okay with $50 a day. Like that's the type of answer I want to get. Like I want to know how much it would cost me to survive a day, accommodation and feeding and just little moving around. Now definitely, I don't know whether $50 a day is going to do it, but it's just an example. And yeah, with the AI also, you don't have to give it factual information as your example. In your example, you don't have to give it factual information, because what you're trying to do with your example is you're trying to tell it how it should present the answer, how it should present the answer. So you can give it one example. This is one example. You can also give it multiple examples. You can give it another example, and let me just copy this, paste here. You can give it another example. Let's say 50 tourist destinations, let's say 30, and you can change something here and say something like let's say 55 euros per day. 55 euros per day. So let's say you also want the model to be able to give you the cost of living in a different currency. You can use a second example to also show that. Like yeah, the first example shows the amount of dollars I can survive on per day, but with the second example, you show that it can also give you the amount in euros. It can also give you the amount in euros. So the model can even get smart and actually present it in the country's currency. It can present it in the country's currency. So you can continue to give it more and more examples. I think a sweet spot is around 3 to 5 examples. If you start giving it too much examples, like 10, sometimes 15, 20, the model can really get confused. So find the most unique set of examples that cover all use cases. That is kind of the rule of thumb. Find the most unique set of examples, number of examples that cover most use cases. 3 is good, 5 is great, but once you start going to like 10, you probably want to look at your set of examples, whether you probably are doing too much, because most of the time sometimes when you give these models too many examples, they kind of get confused. So yeah, this is how you do few shot. This is basically what few shot is. You are giving the model examples on how to present the expected response. Like we said, zero shot, no examples. Zero shot, no examples. You just want it to run free, do its thing, and you're okay with any format it presents the result. But in few shot, you want to be in control. So you want to define the style you want the response to come in. Sometimes you can even say the language you want the response to come in. For example, let's say my third example kind of translates the word population to French. You might be suggesting to the model that, yeah, for each country, you can actually use their native language to give me the response. And the model will be smart enough to pick that up. So you can give all these examples to guide the model on how to present your response. And that's zero shot and few shot prompting.